Hello and welcome to another episode of Lightroom 101. I just got a webcam so I can record videos and then put my face in there for some reason. But anyway, let's get into what we are doing. If you haven't seen this series yet, I'm just going through all the tools in Lightroom and showing what I know about them and if I can give you any knowledge, trying to give that to you to the best of my ability. Basically, all that is to say that I'm gonna skip the transform panel because I don't know much about it. I don't use it. I don't know when I would use something like that. I mean, rotation, I guess, maybe, if you want white spots in your photo. I don't know. I don't know why you'd use it. It's a fine tool. I don't use it, so I don't feel like I can give you guys any knowledge on it. But what we're actually gonna look at today is the effects panel. And this has three really important tools that are kind of icing on the cake, pulling an image together type tools. So yeah, let's go right to it. First off, we have Vignette or Vignette. I'm gonna call it Vignette because that's what I say. But this is a rarely used tool for me, but can be pretty important. I often forget about it and don't use it, and that's honestly okay. It's not necessary in every photo, and it can be overused, so keep that in mind. So a vignette, if you don't know, it's basically just taking the edges and making them either darker or lighter or blurry or something to that effect. And it stems from older lenses having distortion around the edges, so the edges would actually be darker, and you still get that today with a lot of cheaper lenses or wider lenses. They'll have vignetting, and some people like it, some people don't, but to each his own. This effect is for making vignettes or reverse vignette, which is just like bright on the edges or whatever. But let me go over why I would use it. An image like this, here, let me turn it off. The background is slightly distracting, and so all I would do is add a very slight vignette, and it focuses your attention more on the subject. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I would use it for. And oftentimes, I wouldn't use a vignette. I would take a local adjustment, bring it directly on the subject's face, invert it, and make my own vignette so that it's kind of targeting the subject exactly and not just the edges of a photo. Yeah, but that's vignette. That's how I use it. Let's move on to grain. Grain is very important in a few circumstances and just completely not necessary in most circumstances. So if you're adding an effect to an image, say putting a lightsaber in somebody's hand or a light flare or something like that, it's a really good way to kind of pull the effect you've added in Photoshop together with the image by putting a layer of grain over the top, so it kind of looks like they're all in the same image with the same grain. Another use is to kind of make an image look like it was taken with film by adding film grain. And I use that a lot. Some people say too much, sometimes I think too much, but let me just go over the simple sliders and what they actually do. So grain amount is basically the amount of grain, or like kind of the opacity of the grain. So if you blast it up to 100, oh boy, can you see it. It's very apparent. And if you take it down to what I normally use it around, 20 to 30, 40 max. I rarely ever do that. I think it looks nice. It kind of adds a unique feel to an image. Going down to the size slider, this just affects the size of your grain. I'm going to turn up the amount so that you guys can see this effect. So the size is at 100 now, and now it is at 0. just kind of affects the size and affects the amount of blurriness that you would have. And this is a really good way to really show that you got that grain in there. I normally use it around 19, 20 to about 40 maybe. Roughness. So roughness is the difference in the contrast between each little film grain. If you turn it all the way up, the bits that are white are a lot brighter, and the bits that are black are a lot darker. If you bring it down to kind of a nothing contrast, it's a lot less punchy of the grain, and you retain a lot more detail in your photo. I don't think it looks great though. I think you want to commit to at least a little bit of size, a little bit of roughness, and a little bit of amount. I normally keep roughness around 40 to like 60. It's definitely a little bit higher. I think it looks a little bit better to have that punchy grain that you can tell is grain. I think it looks good. All right, so that's grain. Now we're gonna go to dehaze. Dehaze is a really important tool, a great tool for images like this that have haze. And as the name suggests, it dehazes them. So it goes in there and finds the contrast behind the haze and tries to remove it and just bring the photo back. And it's an amazingly powerful feature. It's primarily for, in my opinion, landscape, because of some of the things it does to skin tone when it's turned up. It just makes some areas, well, this image actually works pretty well, but it makes some areas really the wrong skin tone. It'll commit to a tone and just punch up that contrast, and it's not the right one sometimes. But this image, it actually works pretty well. I would take it down to about 65, but you'll be amazed at how much it's actually doing to this image. This is before, and this is after. Pretty wild, actually. And so yeah, I would primarily use that around 60 or whatever your image is actually needing. I would say that's up to you. This one's very easy to overdo as well. But yeah, that's basically the effects panels. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, hit the freaking notification bell, I guess. I don't know, do whatever you want. Yeah, I'll be making more tutorials, more Lightroom content, and whatever else I would like to make. So cool, thanks, bye. It's weird having a camera.